Thank you, Phoebe. Good morning, everyone. My name's Thea. I'm a charity consultant and I help charities to utilise the Crowdfunder platform, its features and what's possible when it's used correctly. I've been doing this since 2019, so I've seen quite a lot of different projects be really successful and some not so. So I'm in a good position to be able to help you all with getting a successful project out the door. So Crowdfunder was set up 12 years ago with the purpose of providing a platform that connects projects that matter with people that care. That's really our purpose and what we've been about for the last 12 years. So since inception, we have had £300 million pass through the platform, which has been raised for over 300,000 projects, and that's from over 1 million supporters. And actually, I think we're now pushing almost the 2 million supporter mark. So we have various additional funding pots, which have been unlocked from over 70 corporate partners, and that includes the likes of Avios through to M&S. We get up to 250 projects added daily and 50,000 visits on a daily basis too. So some big numbers really there that have happened for us since inception. Next slide. So there's lots of different approaches to crowdfunding, but our specialty is really rewards based, which means that charities and projects such as yourselves can run a fundraiser that offers supporters a benefit of some kind in return for a financial contribution. So we do recommend that rewards are set at different price points because that really opens up your supporters' wallets in a different way. For example, they may well spend a lot more on a ticket to a special kind of music event than they would on giving just a straight up philanthropic donation with no rewards. So that's kind of why we recommend that crowdfunding just is a more interesting and varied approach to fundraising than just sort of straight up donation. Oops. Sorry. Within crowdfunding, we talk about our community. We have a community who cares, and that forms sort of 4 different parts of a quadrant here. So it consists of community groups and charities such as yourselves who are looking to raise funds, your supporters, and also engaging their networks. And also, obviously, we've got a group of partners, up to 70 different partners who are looking for suitable projects to give match funding to. And then finally, we also have a crowd of people who have funded on projects and are looking for interesting projects to fund and perhaps buy an unusual reward from. So that's kind of the whole community that sits within the crowdfunding part. So I'm going to go into a little bit more depth on this one. 3 steps to success within your crowdfunder. So the first step is really planning. The second is to create your project, and third is around running your project. So the planning stage is vital. You should really think around what you're fundraising for and how you're going to communicate that effectively. It's really important to think about your initial target and what's realistic, and then what you can potentially stretch to as well. And all the while thinking about how you communicate this to your audience. It's important to think about how you're going to reach an engaged audience as well. So you need to think wider than just your initial audience. For example, if you can get rewards that are highly desirable from a prize provider, then you can get in front of their audience, especially if your prize provider agrees to promote your page out to their database. For example, I was speaking to Phoebe earlier about a fantastic prize draw that Oxfam recently ran, where you could win Glastonbury tickets. So Glastonbury actually shared that with their audience base, and they were desperate to get hold of tickets. So they raised over £500,000 in 24 hours, and actually over £1 million within the 3-week period of the prize draw running. So and that was because it was drip fed out through Glastonbury's database. So it's just a really fantastic way of sort of leveraging an audience from elsewhere. So within your planning stage, you really need to think around who you're going to be targeting, who that audience is, and how you get your message out there. So with the Glastonbury example, you know, the celebrities were actually sharing the page as well, performers, and there was a lot of PR around it. So there was people coming to their page from lots of different marketing sources and PR sources, in addition to social media. So the next stage, when you're creating your page, firstly, you'll do a lot better if you create a short 2-minute video that sits at the top of your page that tells everyone, you know, what you're aiming to do. It puts a credible face to the fundraiser, as well as just bringing to life what you're doing and why. And then we recommend that in the actual text of your page, you include these sections again: who you are, what you're fundraising for, why it's vital to fundraise, and you need the money right now, because that element of immediacy is really key. We do recommend also, if you have some stats, images, testimonials that support your project, then do utilise those and use subheadings to kind of make it really clear for the reader, you know, which bit they're reading about at any given time. So yeah, just breaking up your text to sort of guide people through easy. If you've got sort of pictures that bring to life some of your awards, we recommend including them at the bottom of your page, because you need to think about it as a way of selling what's available to your audience. So for example, the Glastonbury prize draw included incredible pictures of what the experience would entail. So that's your opportunity to really sell those rewards, as well as you can obviously use those images within your marketing as well to drive to the page. People often forget to include calls to action on their page, so that's a really key thing to remember to do, to make sure you ask people to either donate, to buy a reward, to fundraise, or to share your page. So do remember calls to action, and do it, you know, up the top, do it at the bottom as well, and just really remember to be polite as well. Please donate, never goes astray. So then let's move on to running your project. With this stage, you need to be sure to keep the momentum going of your campaign. So think in advance about the content that's going to go out each day and how to alter the messaging, the images, to prevent being too repetitive in the content that you're putting out. Think about how you can reach a different audience on different days as well. So could your prize provider be scheduled in for a couple of times in a week, and then could you promote out to, you know, your fundraising groups a separate point in the week, and just think about, yeah, not just repeating that message. And we do have lots more tips and tricks on our Learn platform. So you should have all received this slide deck already. So just check out our Learn platform. There's these buttons are hyperlinked through to what you need to have a look at. So part of crowdfunding, a big part of crowdfunding, is your network map. So you can see here all the different areas of your network that you need to just sort of plan in advance who they are and what you're going to tell them about. So with your partners, for example, you might want to reach out to them and ask for rewards, because it may well be that you've got some corporate partners who can offer some really interesting rewards out. So that's potentially a message that you might want to write in advance of your crowdfunder to select get your rewards all prepped up. And then, yeah, just think about the various different messages that we're going to go out to all of this network. So, for example, you know, your press piece, you're going to want to wait until you've actually got some funds to shout about before you go to press. So it's a case of what you're going to say to these guys at what point in time throughout your crowdfund, and just really sort of building the momentum and keeping that going, and getting messaging out the whole time. So I think I've already really mentioned, but everyone can contribute in some way to your crowdfunder. You know, you can have people share the project, they can offer awards, and they can also make a straight up donation in addition to fundraising as well. So if I just wouldn't accept no. When you're speaking to people about your crowdfunder, don't accept no as an answer. They can get involved, even if it's just sharing with their network on social media. There is some way that they can help promote you. So it's just a case of being persistent, and also delegating to various members of your team, so it's not all on just one person to be making all of these asks to your crowd. You need to divvy up the tasks and ask different people to approach different sections of your crowd, because I think that's a really helpful process, just to have that some of the workload delegated up. So within Crowdfunder UK, we do have a huge number of different supercharged features that I'm just going to sort of run through quickly with you. There's straight up donations that you can make as you would on the likes of Just Giving, for example. But where we're different, we have the rewards element, so you can add a huge range of different rewards on a page, and then promote them, as I say, with pictures and whatnot at the bottom of your text. So we do encourage like different price points. If you've got corporates that you're going to promote your page to, you might want to think about some high level rewards, or if there's sort of high net worths that you know might be able to give a bit more, think about how to incentivize them to do that by having, you know, maybe some rewards that are really up there, but also you're going to want, you know, the £10, £20 rewards as well that are accessible for everyone. So what we say with rewards is, if you can think about, rather than just sort of promoting merchandise or things that you can obtain in other avenues, think about things that can only be purchased using a crowdfunder, because that will drive people to the page. So yeah, and certainly money can't buy opportunities are really powerful as well, like the Glastonbury prizes. So fundraisers I've touched upon. We've got a mechanic called multiplier, which you can turn on, which enables you to go out to your crowd and ask them to make a fundraising page, and off the back of that, any money that they raise will contribute to your overall target. And it's a really great way to multiply your crowd, because any of your supporters, if they choose to fundraise and they're sharing their page with their friends and family, if those guys opt in to hear from you, then you can add them to your database, and that just increases your the number of people you can remarket to in future campaigns. So it's a super useful tool. So I've touched obviously on the prize draw element of things. Again, this is a really powerful tool. It's something that really sort of kick-started during the pandemic, where we saw lots of charities sort of turning to online fundraising, and looking for different ways of raising money. So there's some great examples. If you go to our prize draw section, which you can reach via the homepage, some wonderful examples of different approaches to prize draws on there. With that, there are a few T's and C's that are important to make note of. One of those is that there must be a free entry route. So you need to include an option to send a postcard in, and that just makes sure that everything is ticking the legal T's and C's side of things. We have a feature that enables regular donations to be made. So it means that you can have your donors give a monthly donation, for example. So that just helps to sort of increase regular giving for you. We have the extra funding pots, which I mentioned. We've got over the sort of 70 different partners available. They all have different criteria on the projects that they will give funding to. And you can find more out about all of our additional funding with the URLs crowdfunder.co.uk/funds, and all the different funding pots are there. We've got a team of expert support, so you're never kind of by yourself when you're crowdfunding. There's lots of online learning you can do, as well as our support team. And a really important point to note is around our data. So we give you a back-end dashboard which has tracking link options in, so you can optimize your campaign as you go along. So you can see, okay, that Facebook post promotion, that worked really well for us. Why did it work? Let's do, let's take a learning from that. And you can also download all of your supporter data and then use that within your own CRMs. So they're the key sort of features to note. Okay, so rewards. Just a sec. This is an example of Music Venues Trust's Save Our Stage campaign. So as you can see, Music Venues Trust, I've given this particular example because it was one of the smaller fundraisers, just showing that we do have a lot of kind of smaller music campaigns going live. So they just raised over £2,000 with 41 supporters over the space of a month, 29 days. And you can see they just included a couple of rewards there, quite interesting ones that you wouldn't maybe have the chance to get hold of elsewhere. So you could join the draw for Radiohead's snare drum, which is pretty cool, for 20 quid. Nice low entry point. Or for £10, you could get a PDF of how to open a grassroots music venue. So they've put together content themselves that they are then sort of selling out to their crowd. We do see that average donations for project pages with rewards is around £50, which is considerably higher than a standard donation where you're not getting anything in return. So that is really the benefit of offering rewards, as well as if you can get your reward provider prize provider to share, then you get in front of their audience as well. So top tips, I've already covered, but make sure that different price points available. Make sure you're asking businesses, celebrities, individuals to donate a reward. Everyone's got something they can offer. And you can also increase your reach by getting it promoted out to their network. And we've got lots of interesting content on our website where you can check out blogs, etc. Or even search for other crowdfunders that have been successful. That's a really good way of getting inspiration. So the individual fundraisers side of things, I've just got Macmillan as an example here because they've got 27 fundraisers live on our site currently. So all of their different pages are contributing to their overall figure there, you can see. And it really does help turn a £50 donor into a £500 fundraiser by activating your fundraising supporters. And also they can actually sell your awards to their crowd, which adds another interesting element to the mix. So this example of prize draws, I just wanted to kind of use another sort of music industry example here. So you can win Mark Knopfler's signed guitar, which is a pretty cool prize. And this campaign is still live actually, so you can go and get involved if you'd like. It's raised 25k so far, and it's got a 30k target. And it's important to note actually you can up your target. So we talk about stretch targets, which if you feel you're getting close to your initial target, you can then you can engage a stretch target. So that's an important one to have a think about in your planning stages. And with this particular campaign, you can see lots of great low-level entry options. So just £5 to enter. It's really not a prohibitive amount. So yeah, quite a cool approach. And as the slide says here, we've got a background of having run many successful prize draws on Crowdfunder. So one of the key ones that we did during the pandemic was I Love Live series, which was to help live music venues during the pandemic to stay afloat. And this one, the Mark Knopfler guitar one, is part of our Come On Home Streets of London charity prize draw series. And there's actually lots live at the moment if you want to go and have a little look around. So you can win prizes from the Arctic Monkeys, Bastille, Coldplay, Duran Duran, Frank Turner. Yeah. So we've got a lot of cool prizes up for grabs at the minute. And in addition to that, we do have a charity a partner in Charity Escapes, so they can actually provide prizes for you. And yeah, there's a link there. So in the deck, you can check those guys out and see. They offer things like weekends away and that kind of thing. As well as you can check out our blogs for inspiration as well. And I did mention earlier about those T's and C's. There's just a little link there to the T's and C's that you need to include so that you're not caught out. The main thing is just for it not to be seen as gambling, basically. So you do need to keep those T's and C's in mind. Within the extra funding world, we have got a wide range of match funding available. You can also bring along your own private match funder, which means that you can kind of incentivize your crowd to give more off the back of any private funder that you might have. So we can, if you tell us about who they are, we can actually put them on the platform for you to act as a match funding provider. So that's quite a cool little feature as well. So in terms of top tips, just make sure you read the entry criteria really carefully. And when you're creating your Crowdfunder page and going through the setup, you'll be asked what you're fundraising for. So make sure you tick all the relevant criteria in that area, and then the system will tell you what you might be eligible for, and then you can apply for them. So here are just some examples of, like, you know, the various pots available in Cornwall, Coventry, Dorset, etc. So we have funding pots all across the UK, as well as national pots as well, to bear in mind. This is our key funding partner, Aviva. They have a community fund which provides up to 50k for projects that boost resilience within communities, focusing on action, climate and financial well-being. May not be quite so relevant for some of you guys, but just is a biggie. They are distributing a lot of funds for us at the minute. It's really important to, like, keep an eye on the different funds that we do have available, because it changes quite regularly. For example, we recently launched our Save Our Wild Isles Community Fund, which again is supported by Aviva, but also WWF and RSPB. So our funds are regularly added to /funds, so check those out. If you opt into our emails, then you will get notifications when new ones go live. In terms of regular donations, so once a supporter makes a donation, they'll be asked if they'd like to give regularly. You can see on the right hand side here what monthly donation you might want to make to Macmillan, for example. There's also an option for tipping us, the platform. They're under no obligation to do that. They can select anything, any option they like there, whether to tip or not. But just for sort of clarity's sake, that is how we make our money off tips in the charity world. So we don't actually charge charities, we just run off tips. So it's also important just to note you can also apply gift aid, because obviously that helps boost your funding. And you can add and update and amend donations in the Crowdfunder account as well. So, and this function isn't actually available via the prize draws or individual fundraiser pages, but just Just something to note there. In terms of reporter dating, it's a really good reporter dating dashboard. So once you log in, you'll have access to your dashboard. So you can see how many people have donated, where the spikes in visits to your page have come in terms of like, what marketing you've done at that point. You can see how well that's performed, the conversion rate of your page, and pledges from fundraisers, the number of fundraisers, all the detail that you need there, and that can all be downloaded, including your gift aid reports as well. So that's super useful. And as I mentioned, so we don't charge charities. There is a charge from a third party in terms of transaction fees. So it's 1.9% plus 20p. So if you receive a £10 donation, your charity would get £9.52 of that. And there's more information on /fees around our fees. So that's the majority of what I wanted to talk to you about today. There's a wealth of free support in our Knowledge Hub, Learning Centre, and help guides, again, all hyperlinked from the deck. We've also got live customer support, webinars in addition to this, and live project analytics as well. So in your decks, there is a click here to start fundraising button, which is hyperlinked, and yeah, recommend you check it out and create a draft page. And myself and Zara, who's on this call, we can look at your drafts and give you advice, and our email addresses are there. So if there's any technical questions, we recommend emailing support@crowdfunder.co.uk, and then there's also our social handles there. If there's some key content, just tag us in, and then let one of us know, and we can speak to marketing about potentially sharing it. We recommend doing that sort of towards the end when your project's doing really well, and then we'll get behind it and push it out to our crowd as well, assuming the calendar allows. So yeah, don't forget our Knowledge Hub and help guides. There's so much super useful information in there. And then just at the back of the deck, you'll see a little Get Started for Charities document, which is just worth a little look through. It just tells you information of what you need in terms of paperwork in order to create a profile page, and also the example of what a perfect page looks like. So I'll let you guys look at that in your own time. There's quite a bit of detail in there. But that is the end of my presentation. So I think we're just going to open it up to questions now, if you've got any questions that you'd like to.
Thanks so much, Thea. I think what we might do first is I'm going to bring in Helen Ward from Jack Drum Arts just onto the call to talk about her experience of Crowdfunder, because she is one of our funded partners and has used the platform. So I just thought she's going to tell us a little bit about her experience, and then we can go to questions after. And Helen, you can ask questions too if you want. Thank you.
Yes, so I'm one of the directors of Jack Drum Arts. We're based in Crook in County Durham, a very small working class coal mining town. So not a lot of money actually. So my first experiences of Crowdfunder were before the pandemic, when we tried to raise money for our annual Winter Light Parade, and like we made the page, made it look really good, and then we posted it on social media, and then I think we raised just over £300, and we were trying to raise 3,000, and then kind of wondered why it didn't work. Really disillusioned, felt really unsupported. But actually, what we didn't do was post about it. I think what I've learned is, if you're going to create a crowdfunder and ask people for money, you've got to really totally 150% commit to it. You've got to post every day.
Yeah,
I didn't do it again until after the pandemic. And I suppose in terms of crowdfunding, I always felt that if we're going to get support locally, we need to do it for something that everybody in our town and like the surrounding villages would benefit from, and that is Crook Winter Light Parade. So we did another one after the pandemic, and I thought, right, this time I'm totally going to commit to it. So I did quite a lot of research on what other people have done, had a realistic ask of what I'd given that we'd just been through the pandemic, which I think was £3,000. And then I got all my media ready in a folder before to keep me going for at least 2 weeks. And before we went public live on our social media, I circulated it with like our core kind of members. People come to our activities on a regular basis. So I think when we went live, we already had about 500-600 in donations.
Perfect.
And that one was really successful. We raised 3,200 from that one. But in addition, one of the things that we find is that there are quite a lot of older people are a little bit frightened of putting the money on Crowdfunder. They'll have seen our campaign on social media, and then they come into Jack Drum and then they give me £20 and say, oh, this is for your campaign to get the money. So I think we raised another £1,000 on top of that 3,200 from local people just coming in and giving us cash. And then last year, we didn't get any funding for Crook Winter Light Parade at all, which normally happens at the end of November, but we're not ones to be beaten, and we really, really wanted to do it. So we thought, okay, well, I looked on Crowdfunder and saw the BA Better World one where they matched 50%. So I applied for that one, it was approved. So the BA Better World would match any donation up to £250. And that one was amazing. Again, I totally committed. Like Thea said, I shared the responsibility with someone else, because some days I go in and say, oh, I really don't know what to say today. What can I say that's different? So we kind of shared it around the team. Other people were making posts as well. And we raised 10,700.
Wow.
Which was brilliant. I think we had about 150 supporters in total. Anything from £5 up to £250, and some local businesses got on board as well, which is really good. I mean, aside from the fact that we got the money to do the event, what was really great is that we felt really, really well supported by our community. We've got loads of really incredible comments from people. So we actually felt like, oh, we're really valued in our community for what we do. And when I saw the shares that we had of our posts for the Crowdfunder, it was really nice to see what people were saying, because they really valued it.
Absolutely. We do hear this a lot, that crowdfunding really gives that crowd validation of projects, which goes a lot further than, you know, obviously you're raising money, but it's to hear back from your supporters in that way is really encouraging, isn't it?
I mean, when I launched the one last year, I got it all set up and ready to go live, and it was in September. And it was quite an ambitious ask, actually. Initially, we were looking for 25,000 to run the event. And the day I launched it was the day Liz Truss crashed the economy. And then I was completely oblivious to what was going on, because I was at home. And then I went down into work in the afternoon and then realised and thought, oh dear, we're never going to get people to donate now, because there's all this anxiety around mortgages and money. I did actually get in touch with Crowdfunder and explain the situation, and they allowed us to reduce it, which I'm really grateful for. But people still did give money, which was brilliant. It's really good. And there were some people, one of our regular supporters, she came to me and said, oh, we'd really like to help raise some money for your Crowdfunder. So her and a friend, they organised like a posh dinner, which I went along as well, and they had about 15 people, cooked a really nice meal, and then I think they raised about £220.
Amazing. This is what I mean, everyone can do something, you know. They've just offered up, well, not just, but that's lovely, to offer up, you know, their cooking skills and a venue to do it in. It's wonderful.
On the rewards, we've always had rewards, but they've never really been that popular. We put loads of really good rewards on last year. So our youth band, our youth samba band, they said, oh, we're going to do some doorstep gigs. We had that as our top reward for 250. We offered, we've got a ukulele group, and a ukulele group said, oh, we'll go and do a gig in someone's house. We had that one. Nobody wanted that one. The one that we did have more take up on was for £50. You get a musical thank you.
Okay. So it might be just a case of sort of experimenting a little bit around price point.
Yeah.
On rewards, because if you know they're just a little bit too expensive, maybe that's sort of.
I mean, I also wanted to be realistic, because I remember funding somebody's crowdfund, giving some money to a local young theatre company's crowdfunder probably about 10 years ago, and they put all these rewards up and they never delivered. I think they were too ambitious, and it was counterproductive to what they were trying to do. They're trying to raise money for a show, but they'd offered to do all these other things.
Yeah, so it's really important that you consider any rewards, how you actually deliver them, and keep the credibility of your project by delivering them. Absolutely, that is vital.
No, we've got one not in draft. It's ready to go. We're waiting for approval from Aviva. So our young people organised a climate change music festival last year, and they want to do it again. And I suggested we've got some money, but we wanted to raise some more. So we've applied to Aviva. When we were finishing it off last week, when we went to go live, it said that some of our language was wrong. So it's sitting there in draft form, and I haven't heard anything back.
Okay.
I've gone through it with a fine tooth comb, and I cannot see where the language is wrong.
Do you want to just ping us a link to that? Send an email over, and we can follow that up for you.
But yeah, my experience of crowdfunding is, I'd say since the pandemic is really positive. I think my key thing for me is you've just really got to commit to it. You've got to give the time to it, and keep sharing it and make it a really positive thing for people. We also use QR codes quite a lot. So we printed them out and put them around our centre. And I also, last year, when people started coming up to me and saying, oh, here's a tenner for your crowdfunder, I'd say because we needed them to go through the crowdfunder to unlock the money from BA. I said, it would be really helpful if you didn't mind if you put it in the crowdfunder. So I actually helped people. I showed them how to do it. So try and take away that fear.
Using the QR codes.
Yeah.
The
QR code, or just going through the process with them on their phones to help them do it, which is helpful.
Yeah. So I think you've touched on lots of really, really useful learning there. So, planning content in advance. So you've got a library of content to go live, so that the 3 or 4 weeks of the campaign, you're not sort of each day thinking, oh gosh, what am I going to put out today? So that's, we really recommend thinking about that in advance.
When we finished crowdfunding for the light parade, we also got an email from the co-op, and we were invited to take part in the warm spaces. So after the light parade, we got match funding from the co-op and raised another £5,000 for our warm spaces, which is brilliant.
Amazing. So you've unlocked quite a lot of additional funding through using Crowdfunder, haven't you? With the various additional partners that have got involved, which is exactly what we're set up for. So that's really good to hear.
It does work really well.
Good. Thank you.
That was so helpful. Really nice to hear from you, Helen. Thank you. And so if anyone's got any comments on the back of that, or any questions, feel free to unmute or put them in the chat.
Hi, it's Jackie Wood here from ARC. Hi. Just so this all sounds really interesting, and we're just in the middle of a big give campaign. It's the first one we've done, so we're kind of learning a lot of these things. So this seems really relevant. But with Crowdfunder, is there a set time to your crowdfunding campaign? You know, does it have to be a week, a month, or can you set that depending on what the project is that you're trying to raise money for?
Yeah, you can set it depending what you're fundraising for, and the time period around that. It is, as Helen touched on there, you do need to have something going out every day. It's really about building that momentum. So don't go for a period that is so long that you can't maintain that momentum over that period. You need to have enough energy and resource to be pushing each day. So, you know, for a prize draw, 3 weeks is a good period. For a sort of standard campaign, 4 to 6 weeks. It's sort of dependent on how big your team is, and what else they've got on, energy levels, you know, consider resource.
I think you have to create a sense of urgency actually around your campaign.
Absolutely.
Have a time limit, and also if we don't reach this target by this particular date, then whatever it is we're raising money for won't happen.
Yeah,
I think it's important people understand that. When we did the one in 2021 after the pandemic, when we raised over 3,000, a week before, a local man, I have no idea who he is, he put £500 on and then put a message on saying, there you go, I've got you over. And I'm sure he felt really good doing that, and that was really exciting for us. So I think if you make sure that people understand the urgency around it.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's great. Thank you.
You can also, and that's a really good point, Helen, you can also create a countdown towards the close. So using social tiles, something like Pablo is a free tool to create social tiles on. You can have some visual countdowns towards your final day. So that helps create urgency as well. And just make sure people know that it can't happen without that money.
Theo, are you happy for me to give your email to everyone that's in the call today, in case anyone wants to follow up with anything?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's on the deck as well, which I think everyone's received.
Oh, cool. So everyone has Theo's email.
And Zara's email as well. Do you want to just say a quick hello, Zara?
Hi everyone, I'm Zara. I also work at Crowdfunder with Thea, and I look forward to hearing about the projects you guys plan to launch.
Thanks, Zara.
Andy Batten from the Pioneer Youth Club in St Albans. We run a skate park and a music venue, and we've recently launched a community interest company, so as a social enterprise. In terms of the crowdfunding, does it have to be a charity, or can it be done through a community interest company, which is that registered? You
can crowdfund as a CIC, as a charity. Either is fine. Absolutely. There will be some additional funding pots will specify that they're only funding for a certain type of organisation. So that's just something to consider. But you can crowdfund as either organisation.
Thank you.
Sorry, I can ask a quick question. We're at the stage of we're sort of thinking about whether crowdfunding is right for us, and I think our main concern is the size of our team. It's just me and one other part-time member of staff, and I think so obviously I'm aware how much kind of time and commitment goes into it. I feel like that's really been sort of reiterated today. I just wondered if there's any sort of guidance or advice about how we might go about sort of weighing up the pros and cons and deciding whether crowdfunding is right for our organisation.
Okay, that's a really good question. I think only you and your other member of staff will know how much you've got on at any point throughout your calendar. So perhaps consider some quieter moments in the calendar, and also weighing up pros and cons. I mean, I suppose it depends how urgently you need funding, and whether other projects or kind of to-dos can be put on a back burner whilst you focus on a crowdfunder. It is, as Helen says, you do need to sort of prioritise it and really go for it if you want to hit a home run. So don't do it with half measures, I would say. So yeah, a pros and cons list, I guess, of everything you guys have got on and how important the funds are within that.
Okay, thanks.
Presumably once you have it in place, it's kind of easier a bit the second time. So
yeah,
the first time's probably the hardest.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that was, again, you know, and Helen's first one, very much a learning, because she hadn't got the content sort of ready to be distributed, and was very much learning as she was going along, I suppose. And then the second time round, much more successful as a result. Would you think that's fair to say, Helen?
Yeah, I think also the first time that we did it, I was a bit embarrassed to keep posting on social media.
Okay.
To keep sending emails to say donate to our project. But I put that to one side the last couple of years and thought, actually, if people really want this event to happen, they need to contribute to it.
Mm-hmm. So a change of mindset in the way that's really important. And if you don't ask, you don't get, do you? You know, you've got to let people know what's available, and with the rewards element, you are offering something back in return. You're not just asking people to open up their wallet for nothing. You know, they can get something back.
I think for us, it's helped local people feel real kind of ownership over an event that happens every winter.
Yeah, feel part of it. We've helped make this happen in our community. Yeah, absolutely. Is there anything from anyone else?
There's a little bit of background noise with me, but hopefully that answered all your questions. And I'm happy to finish a little bit earlier than planned. Thank you so much, Thea, for that really interesting presentation, and Helen for joining us as well with your experience of all of this.